Ever since I was a kid playing with Legos, I just love the idea of assembling the things that I buy. Derek?
What?
That was the cue. You're supposed to assemble me with the crane.
I know, I'm working on it.
This is the Framework Laptop 12. Framework makes several different computers with this sort of modular design focused on repairability. This is their 12-inch 360-degree laptop, and the assembly process was pretty fun. You know what? Can we just cut to the theme song? This is Brad. He likes to review the tech. He also likes to draw. And this here is his theme song. Usually by the time I turn on this camera and start talking to it, I've got an entire script written out. I do not today. In fact, I'm looking at this box and I don't even know what's in it. Well, I know there's a laptop in it. But I'm under the impression that this laptop requires a fair bit of assembly, but I'm not sure how much. We're going to find this out together, so let's just do it. I'm going to go ahead and just open this thing up. So to start off, we have our input cover kit. Let's see what's in that. Underneath that, this is probably the main piece of the laptop. Yeah, this feels laptop-y to me. It looks laptop-y to me. So here we go, we're winging it. They asked me what color I wanted. I said, give me the sage green. I think it looks pretty good. It looks even better in person. Along the back, we have the modules, and I don't know if that's all the assembly that's here or if there's actually, no. There's a lot of assembly that's required. Look at that. Oh, that is cool. All right, we're gonna need to get this box out of the way and get started here. Let's see what is in here. Obviously, this is the keyboard. It is gonna go on top of there. Ooh, this really is assemble yourself. Here we have 500 gigabytes of storage. This, I believe, is just our little power brick that it comes with here. Let me get that out. Yep, that's what that is. And of course, we have the cables that are going to go along with that. This is a tool. I think that we're just going to use this to screw everything in. That makes perfect sense to me. This is cool. This is the reason why I said I would review it. They have laptops that don't have pens. This is a 360-degree laptop. It did come with a pen. Let's see what that looks like. Tear off tab. Let's see, does that just slide out? I got a pen that matches the green of the laptop. I believe this is an MPP pen, so we'll be testing this out. This is using the same technology as the Surface Pro and most Windows pens. We've got two little clicky buttons in there. Charging USB port. It's got a nice wide pen tip. That's nice. A lot of MPP pens have really small tips, so that'll be good to draw with. These four are our modules. I have an SD expansion card because I do video editing and I use a lot of SD cards. I have a USB Type-C expansion card. I have a second USB Type-C expansion card because I'm used to using a Mac laptop and that's been USB-C forever. And then I have an HDMI expansion card. My thinking here is that I test a lot of drawing tablets, so having an HDMI port will come in handy. And then lastly, we have all our paperwork here. Oh, it is not lastly. Look at this. Look at this. I could just sell this right now and retire. 16 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. All right, let's see what's in here. Scan to get started, QR code. I probably should scan it. Ooh, some stickers. Green stickers that kind of match our vibe. This is why we have iPads. According to the instructions here, this is very easy and will take between 2 and 5 minutes. But through the power of video editing, I bet I can do it in less. All right, step 1, unbox your laptop. Step 2, set up your laptop on a clean surface. Check. Step 3, install the expansion cards. All right, so now it's time to decide, where are these expansion cards going to go? Do I do the USBs both on the same side? I'm also opening these upside down. That's probably a bad idea. I think that is my plan. So I'm going to put the two USBs over here, and I'm going to put the HDMI over here. So let's see, this just plops in. There we go. And this is the SD card reader. Plop in there. And then I'll just stick in my USB Type-Cs over here, like that. According to the instructions, I need to lock these in. There's these little lock mechanisms, so I'll just pull that over. That's probably so that when you pull your cords out, you don't accidentally yank out the little module. Step 5, assemble the power adapter. Boop, boop. Step 6, we're gonna flip this around. Oh, there's a train. Can you guys hear the train? I hope you can't hear the train, but I'm gonna go ahead and plug this into one of my USB Type-C ports anyway. All right, step 7, turn on your laptop. Wait, I can't turn it on. I haven't installed the hard drive yet. Something tells me I'm looking at the wrong instructions. Hold on, 10 minutes to 20 minutes. It's not gonna take me that long. I got this. Remove the clear tray. Next up, we're going to install the storage. I believe it goes here. Yeah, right there. It says storage. Cool. I think this is just a little guy. It is just a little guy. Look at that. How do I get it out? Okay, there's my hard drive. I'm just going to take this little thing and I'm going to slide it in there and get it to contact. And then how does this little lock mechanism work? Oh, that just snapped. Okay, so I pull this down and I'm assuming this snaps back. Ooh, yeah. Okay, there's this other space here, and yep, flip that back. It says memory, so I think that's what we're doing next. Let me check the instructions first. Yes. All right, let's open this thing up. I'm being very careful with it because it's memory and it's gold. The instructions are telling me to flip it around like that, so the boring end is up. Let's slide it in there. Sorry, my head's getting in the way. Oh, my head was in the way, but it satisfyingly snapped into place. And we will flip this back up like that. Step 10, we're going to install our input cover. Okay, we have this in more paper. Hold the keyboard cover at an angle. There we go. And then it just, there we go, snaps it down. Cool. It kind of seems to sit in place with magnets, and then it like snaps a little. I think I felt a snap there. So the next step is to flip the laptop over and do what we've already done. So hopefully I haven't done this wrong. But we're going to take our fancy screwdriver here and we're just going to come in here and we are going to tighten these down. I'm assuming what this is probably doing is screwing in the keyboard to tighten it up from the other side of the laptop. So I'm going to get it plugged in there. Let's open this thing up and let's see what happens. Cool, so it is on and looks like it's time to install an operating system. While I do that, I want to tell you about my Learn to Draw in 60 Days course. Still got some holiday discounts running right now. So if you're interested in picking up some new skills for the new year, go to bradsartschool.com to learn more. So yeah, I was a big fan of this assembly process, but what about the laptop itself? It's a bit of a mixed bag. You're paying a premium for this modularity, for this repairability. And this one is their budget option. The build that I have here would cost you about $1,200 if you got the same exact configuration with the same exact pieces parts. With the Intel i5 board, 512 gigabytes of storage, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So with this model in particular, they are cutting some corners to keep the price from getting too high. And for me, and what I do and how I use a laptop, I think they're cutting some of the wrong corners. So let's start with something I liked, the plastic build. I got the sage green, and there's several color options available on their website. There was a time when most laptops had plastic shells, and then Apple came along with their fancy aluminum cases, and now aluminum and magnesium shells are the norm. And I love those, but now in the year 2025, going on 2026, it's harder and harder to actually find a plastic laptop. And because of how rare it is, I'm really digging this design. And I think that it helps that they're really leaning into this plastic design and not trying to hide from it. I felt the same way about the plastic Wacom Move Ink Android tablet designs from a few months back. This does feel like a toy. And I mean that in a good way, and I kind of mean that in a bad way, just because it feels fun. And it's not just the look and feel of it that is fun, it's the act of assembling it that's fun. Even though I don't need this laptop, and it's not really powerful enough for what I do on a day-to-day basis, I kind of want to still keep using this laptop because the entire process of picking out the parts and then assembling it gives me a sense of ownership over it that I don't feel with other products that just come prepackaged in a box. But it also feels toy-like because it feels a little flimsy here and there. The keyboard has a lot of flex to it. And the bezels around the screen are kind of big. Actually, they're huge. The amount of space between the hinge and where the bottom of the screen starts is over an inch. And that makes it feel like the kind of inexpensive laptops you might find at Walmart that you give to your kids, or just something that's a lot older than it really is. If they could dramatically reduce the bezels around the screen in a second-gen device while still leaning into this multicolored plastic design, I think this would land much, much better. The screen itself is HD 1920 by 1200. The colors don't pop too much. Looking at the color range we're getting here, it's a 68% sRGB and a 52% Adobe RGB. Now, for creative work, illustration, design, video editing, the kind of stuff that I'm looking at, this screen just doesn't cut it. You really want to be creating in a color space that is better or equal to what the color space your audience is going to be viewing it in. And nowadays, phones tablets, devices that people are using to view these things on are just going to look better than this screen. So expect the colors of your work to look way different when you move them over to another monitor or just view them on your phone. And while I was disappointed in the color, the thing that bugged me the most about this screen were the viewing angles. If this was a standard laptop screen, you could get away with that a little bit more because you're sitting directly in front of the laptop. You're not usually viewing a laptop from an angle. However, this is a 360-degree screen. When you are drawing, whether you are taking notes, you have this folded over, it's sitting on your desk, it's sitting on your lap. You aren't looking at it from a 90-degree angle. And tilting it even just a little bit, it starts to get really dark, especially when you get it down to that drawing angle. It is really, really dark. It's worth noting this is also a touchscreen, and it totally works with the stylus. This is an MPP stylus, so it will work with most other Windows styluses out there, but I think it's kind of cool that they actually have color matching styluses to go with the laptop you bought. Choosing MPP for your stylus tech makes a lot of sense for a company like Framework. They aren't going to go out and license some fancy tech. They're just going to use a standard like WPP. But I do have a long storied history of disliking these kinds of pens. The ever so slight input delay when drawing or writing with one of these pens is kind of frustrating. It makes them feel very non-responsive, and it creates some lag, especially at the beginning of lines. I think the pen is trying to decide what to do at the beginning of a line, because initially it's not sure if you're trying to draw a line or write a letter, or if you're long pressing with the pen, and that little bit of a delay really throws you off when you're sketching. And some apps have more delay than others. I chose a bad one. Fresco probably has more delay than an average app. Some of the note-taking apps out there are a little bit better, because these MPP pens tend to be better for note-taking than they are for drawing. Anyway, I don't want to relitigate all of MPP's issues, but if you are looking at this for drawing, that is not its strength. I feel like I'm being overly negative here because I want to disclose the things about this laptop that I didn't like, but it feels to me like a quintessential Gen 1 product because this is their first stab at a 360-degree laptop, but it does come with some crazy unique features. I love the privacy latches on the camera and on the microphone. The trackpad itself is nice and clicky. The details like the speakers and the webcam aren't going to blow you away, but they're good enough. And yes, I love that at checkout you could decide whether you want to pay for Windows or bring your own operating system out of the gate. I think because of this, the Linux community has really embraced Framework. And this is going to make 12 people here extremely happy, but I did decide to partition my drive so I could install Linux and mess around with it. I'm not going to sit here and grade the Linux experience because I'm such a noob here. For me, reviewing Linux would be like taking a Waymo, stepping out of it and going, I'm a NASCAR driver now! Y'all would just think I'm silly. But for those who are curious, I went with Mint Linux with the cinnamon flavor, and I'm not totally lost here because I've had a Steam Deck for a few years, and also I installed Bazite on my living room PC to get a better game interface thing going on there. But I'm still definitely a noob. And going forward, you might see this laptop again in videos, just kind of peeking off on the side because now I have a Linux environment for testing some of the drawing tablets that I review. And that's actually why I chose the HDMI module for one of my options. So overall, the Framework 12 does feel like that first gen product. The idea here is rock solid and I love it. But the weakest link for me is that screen. Even though this laptop is upgradable, that is the one part you're never going to be able to upgrade. I really hope that a few years down the line, they take another stab at this form factor and they continue to lean into that fun plastic colored design. And I can't wait to see what else they do. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. All you Linux lovers, you let me know down below what I should be doing with this thing to get the most out of it too. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.